You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687. 687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My name is Jessie, and I'm proud of the life I have, surrounded by military and aware just how big the world really is. I have a unique perspective on life and the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for Point of View. All right, it's Jessie. How's everybody doing out there today? Yes, I miss you when we're not talking. You ever hear the saying, the weekend's been too strong? Boy, have I had one of those weekends. Yes, I know, I bailed on my show on Thursday. And for those of you that were wondering, I had a migraine. No, I had a migraine headache, and it was horrific. Now, enough about me. Have you seen how much news has come out since we've been on the air? No, really, have you? That's a small stack of my show prep. I have way more than we're actually probably going to get to tonight. I'm fully aware of this. Now, for those of you keeping tally on my taps plays, we will be honoring the fallen from the Puerto Rico National Guard C-130 accident tonight. I have all 9 names. They are sitting here. They are next to me. And we will be doing that at the end of the show. However, in the meantime, I am just sitting here going, where do you want me to start? And I know that may sound just a little bit flippant. Trust me, it's not. Because, well, quite frankly, there's been so much that's happened that I'm not sure where to start myself. So we're going to take this one step at a time. And I'm probably going to start with the oldest first, just to clear it off my deck. All right. Which takes us back to North Korea. Yeah, I know. I'm sick of hearing North Korea too. But we got to do a little bit of conversation about it. Okay, but we're not staying long on that topic tonight. Because, quite frankly, there's too much else to get to. Now, what I do want to make clear about North Korea South Korea has nominated a negotiator for military talks with North Korea, which is fantastic. And here's the other thing that's going on. Yeah, there's one more thing. The Americans being held hostage in North Korea have been relocated to a hotel so they can, quote, recover. Now, why is this important? Well, it does get them out of the prison camp, which is an awesome thing to happen. Why else is this important? It's a sign of them being allowed to recover and quote-unquote educated before their release. Why do I say quote-unquote? Educated in North Korean language basically means taken on a whole bunch of tours. And getting to see a whole bunch of propaganda. And that's something that's, well, that's how North Korea views it. And I don't know what else to say about this. But it is the way North Korea views things. North Korea doesn't want anybody, no matter who they are, to leave, who can talk anyway, to leave the country with a negative view of it. I'm sorry, I think a lot of people will always have a negative view of North Korea. I don't know what other view anybody could have of a country that puts its own people in prison camps. But I digress. We are getting off the North Korean topic right now. So, bye-bye, quackers. All right. Oh, one other comment. I promise it's brief. President Trump's constant discussion of the 3 detainees may actually make them more valuable to North Korea. All right. We are getting away from Asia Pacific. We're going right here to the good old USA. What? You don't cover US stuff. This is military news. Time out. I don't care who said what to who, what's going on with nominations on the Senate floor. Yeah, I know what's going on, but do I care enough to talk about it on my show? Absolutely not. So, reshuffling my show prep, friends. The U.S. Department of Defense announced today that it has officially offered to host the proposed NATO Joint Force Command for the Atlantic at its naval force facilities in Norfolk, Virginia. The JFC Norfolk will ensure that NATO can successfully conduct operations across the full spectrum of alliance missions in the transatlantic region in the northern Atlantic. The future Atlantic-oriented JFC represents part of the ongoing NATO effort to adapt its command structure to ensure that the alliance can meet the challenges in today's security environment. It will strengthen NATO's deterrence and defense posture and its ability to project stability beyond its borders. However, the North Atlantic Council is expected to make a final determination on the location of the new JFC this summer. What is significant about that? Well, U.S. does contribute quite a bit to NATO, so would it surprise me if this went through? Absolutely not. Nope, wouldn't surprise me. Not one bit. Now, something else took place since we last spoke. The U.S. military is resurrecting a fleet to patrol the Atlantic Ocean. We normally send our fleets far and wide. We don't keep too many running around here, at least not since 2011. Well, the second fleet is being resurrected, and it will provide forces along the U.S. coast in the northern Atlantic Ocean. Our national defense strategy makes clear that we're back in an era of great power competition as the security environment continues to grow more challenging and complex. That's why today we're standing up Second Fleet to address these changes, particularly in the North Atlantic. Why are we doing this? Well, how many times have you heard me say, "Oh, there's a Russian submarine off the coast of Norfolk"? No, they're not in our waters, but they are out there. And it's the highest activity since the Cold War. Then you add, and that's according to NATO and U.S. officials, Russia routinely sends spy ships off the East Coast. They'll say outside of our territorial waters. They're not stupid. Which, for your reference, is 12 nautical miles, my friends. And United States, they send these ships off the East Coast of the U.S. And they have announced plans to develop an underwater nuclear-armed drone. Yes, they have. Well, is that something we want to surprise us? Yeah, Russia's going to develop an underwater nuclear-armed drone. I don't want that thing sneaking up on us. As a country? Do you? I didn't think so. So, we are bringing back the Second Fleet. And it's also part of the broader reviews that follow the row of deadly collisions among ships in the Seventh Fleet. Because there's been so much stress, they've had to cover so much territory. This means there will be one less thing for them to worry about. I know this sounds wonky, but it's true. All right? It's one of those things of we will make this work in a way that actually helps us instead of hinders us. And that's a good thing. And that's what I always want to see. And so, for those of you who don't recall, I am working on looking for the audio clips on this. But the great power competition means extending your military and economic power as far as possible. And that's something we haven't been very successful at doing for some time. Yeah, we have them spread far and wide. There's no doubt of that. But there's also here, in fact, I found Secretary Emeritus talking about power competition.
We recognize great power competition is once again a reality. We will continue to prosecute the campaign against terrorism by, with, and through our allies. But in our new defense strategy, great power competition, not terrorism, is now the primary focus of U.S. national security.
Those are some pretty important words from our Secretary of Defense.
Remember, deterrence is dynamic. It changes from year to year, from decade to decade. We have to address deterrence in its current construct. So we do this. The idea is to raise the threshold. Don't even think about lowering the threshold to a conventional fight and escalating it to one small yield nuclear weapon, strategically changing the game, and then think our choice is either surrender or suicide, as Dr. Kissinger put it.
And that's his thoughts on deterrence and why things have to change. I mean, those are pretty important points. And this is why we are bringing back the Second Fleet. Here's what Mattis had to say about China and Russia and their position in great power competition.
Nations as different as China and Russia have chosen to be strategic competitors. They seek to create a world consistent with their authoritarian models and pursue veto power over other nations' economic, diplomatic, and security decisions. Rogue regimes like North Korea and Iran persist in taking outlaw actions that undermine and threaten regional and global stability. And despite our successes to date against ISIS' physical caliphate, violent extremist organizations continue to sow hatred, incite violence, and murder innocents. Across the globe, democracies are taking notice.
Well, he doesn't want us to get left behind. He wants us to be out in front. And I think that's a valid comment. And I think it's one of those situations where you can't necessarily hold back. I mean, can you legitimately hold back your global resources in an era when everyone else is racking them up. All right. One more audio clip.
More than any other nation, America can expand the competitive space. We can challenge our competitors where we possess advantages and they lack strength. To restore a competitive military edge, this defense strategy pursues three primary lines of effort: to build a more lethal force, to strengthen traditional alliances while building new partnerships, and reform the department's business practices for performance and affordability.
And that's a pretty cool statement, and that's why we are bringing back the Second Fleet. Now, it has a lot to do with the Cold War era mentality that we're slipping back into. Is this a bad thing? No. Reactivating the Second Fleet signals the Navy's desire to operate more powerfully and credible in the North Atlantic. And it will immediately address the threat from the now increasing to modest number of Russian nuclear attack submarines capable of cruising in the depths off the East Coast. The Yasan-class fleet are equipped with hypersonic anti-ship missiles and nuclear-caped missiles that can reach any city on the eastern seaboard within range. Russian submarines also create a hazard of mines and anti-submarine missiles that would complicate a deployment in support of NATO allies, risking an escalation of tension with the U.S. cities in range. I mean, they can cause lots of problems. How soon will there actually be ships and sailors under the term Second Fleet? I don't know. This is the government. It takes them a while to spin anything up. Now, we are almost ready for this commercial break. And I have a quick story that fits nowhere. So that's the one we're going to do now. Actually, I've got two of them. We might be able to get them both in. Nazi grandma caught after skipping prison sentence for denying Auschwitz was a death camp. A notorious Holocaust denier dubbed Nazi Grandma, who failed to turn up last week for the beginning of her prison sentence, has been located and incarcerated. 89-year-old Ursula Haverbeck was found in her home in the northwest German town of Vlotho and taken to jail. Haverbeck was sentenced to 2 years in jail last year on charges of incitement relating to assertions that Auschwitz was a work camp and never used for mass extermination. She appealed the decision, but the court in the lower state of Saxony ruled the previous judgment was legally sound and should be implemented. Haverbeck had been due to begin her prison sentence last Wednesday. Various courts have heard cases against the recalcitrant Holocaust denier. Her criminal records include fines for another sentence for incitement. During a previous trial, she spoke of an Auschwitz lie, claiming the Nazi camp in occupied Poland was not an extermination camp, but merely a labor camp. Estimates put the number of people murdered at Auschwitz at 1.1 million, 90% of whom were Jews. Others included Poles, Romani, Sinti, Soviet prisoners of war, and homosexuals. In Germany, anyone who publicly endorses, denies, or plays down the mass murder of Jews and other groups of people who were thought undesirable during the Third Reich faces a maximum penalty of 5 years in jail and a minimum of a fine. So, travel tip, folks, don't deny the Holocaust when you're in Germany. And personally, I'd like to think none of my listeners would deny the Holocaust. 1,000 hostages have been rescued from Boko Haram. Nigeria's military says it's rescued more than 1,000 people held captive in northeastern Nigeria by the armed group Boko Haram. Remember, these were the people who became famous when they kidnapped 276 schoolgirls in the town of Chibok. The whole hashtag Bring Back Our Girls. Now, the multinational Joint Task force comprised of Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, Niger, and Benin helped to secure the release of the captives, mostly women and children. Some men who'd been forced to become Boko Haram fighters were also among those rescued. Boko Haram has been held responsible for thousands of abductions, especially of young girls, women, during its 9-year armed campaign in Nigeria and surrounding countries. All right, folks. It is time to pay those radio station bills. As a reminder, you can follow me on Twitter at Radio Host Jesse, and I will see you on the other side.
Back down. You can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. No, I'll stand my ground. Won't be turned.
All right, thank you for hanging in there with me while we paid those radio station bills. All right, we've made quite a dent in the news prep, and I'm happy to see that. For once, we're getting it done. Now, there is something I tripped over in my news prep that I found pretty shocking. I was glad to see it. It was shocking in a good way. And that was that the Taliban's Chief Justice, the high-ranking Taliban members calling for peace in Afghanistan. And it came in a letter from the Shadow Chief Justice, Mawali Abdul Hokam, to Taliban leader Habibullah Akhundzada. All Afghans, including those living in Taliban or Afghan government-controlled areas, are tired of war and want peace. The Afghan Ministry of Defense has put out copies of the letter that was initially sent from northeastern Baghlan province and claimed that many Taliban members favor peace. And I'm working off someone else's translation because, well, my Arabic and my Farsi suck. Since the Islamic Emirate leaders have a responsibility toward legitimate demands of the Afghan people, it is essential that despite Operation Kondak against the occupiers, the leadership should consider the public peace demand and provide a convincing response to the Afghan people after consulting with all the leaders. The Afghan Taliban did announce their 2018 spring offensive, called Al-Kandak, or Trench Jihadi Operations, on April 25th, despite the call for peace. And they've also called the Afghan government a puppet and said that the offer for peace is not real and that the U.S. international-led forces are occupiers. None of this propaganda is surprising if you follow what's going on. Okay? Okay. Now, the Afghan High Peace Council said Taliban leaders have already discussing the Afghan government's peace offer. I can't talk tonight. Untangle that tongue. And that they are confident that many groups within the Taliban ranks are interested and seek peace in Afghanistan and are trying to join the negotiation table. They have realized they can't win on the battlefield. Hokam also asked all Taliban fighters not to resort to summary execution and to pay more attention to civilians, elders, and children during battles. No in-charge person or mujahideen, a Muslim fighter, has the right to kill anyone without a trial order. Now, this letter came months after Taliban claimed responsibility for a suicide attack in the city of Kabul that killed close to 100 people. Afghan officials also blamed the group for a Sunday morning bombing in a mosque that was being used as a voter registration center in the Eastern Coast province, which killed 17 people and injured 33. Jakarta is set to hold a trilateral conference May 11th, where religious scholars from Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Indonesia would try to find a solution for more than 16 years of war in Afghanistan. Fortunately, the Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Indonesia delegations are announced, and religious councils of all three countries will participate in the conference to discuss peace and stability in Afghanistan. Despite the Afghan Taliban's urge that the scholars boycott the conference. That was shocking, but in a very positive way. And Host Kitty's taken to doing a new thing tonight. Host Kitty seems to be guarding my papers as I drop the used show prep on the floor. Host Kitty is laying on them and grabbing each one with a paw and pulling them towards him. What can I say? Alright, the story I've been waiting to discuss. There's a couple of them. And yes, I've kind of held this off for a number of reasons. There's a few things going on that I find not so pleasant. And there were recently elections in Lebanon. And as you know, I definitely dislike the terrorist groups. And I've said many times, anybody want to name those groups? What three groups are most prominently funded by none other than Iran? Hezbollah and Hamas are two of the top ones. Well, Lebanon's elections to choose a new parliament had Hezbollah gaining power and the prime minister's fortunes fading. Lebanon's Hezbollah paramilitary movement emerged Monday as the main victor in the country's first election in almost a decade. What does this mean? They've secured veto power in the Lebanese parliament. Interior Minister Nahud Manchouk said Iran-backed Hezbollah and its parliamentary allies won more than a third of the 128 seats, which would leave them as a dominant force in the Lebanese legislature. The party of Sunni Prime Minister Saad Hariri, meanwhile, lost 5 seats in Beirut, once considered a stronghold, although he was expected to retain his position. Manchouk said a final breakdown of the nationwide results will be released Tuesday. The vote was the first of its kind in 9 years. It was highly anticipated. Television stations aired extensive coverage, and billboards of the candidates' faces loomed high above the streets of Beirut. Lebanon has long been beset by corruption, political sclerosis, and the election results were widely expected. However, to the locals, Hezbollah gaining a number of seats was not a surprise. It's been a regional trend, because their neighbor, Syria, has been consumed by war. And everyone, the locals, expected that the outcome in Syria would set the trajectory of politics in Lebanon. And that's what's been happening since 2016. 7 years into the conflict, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, this guy, essentially secured victory with the support of Iran and Russia, while his major opponents in the Arab states of the Persian Gulf have ended their calls for regime change. A key political player in Lebanon, Hezbollah has also been one of the Assad government's major allies, sending thousands of fighters to battle Syrian rebels and Daesh, or ISIS. In a televised address, Hezbollah's leader, Hassan Nasrallah, hailed the electoral success as a political and moral victory. Sunday's vote was governed by a complex new electoral law intended to bring in new political players while preserving Lebanon's sect-based political system. For many voters, it proved confusing. Inside a polling booth in the Hezbollah-dominated Beirut suburb of Dayaa, a steady stream of people approached volunteers to ask how they were meant to cast their ballots. Some people thought that they could vote for just one candidate. No, you have to vote for the candidate and the list. And they claimed these were simple. Not all people believed they were. Election monitors from the Washington-based National Democratic Institute said that they recorded inconsistencies, but that the polling officials and security forces had done their jobs with admirable professionalism, compassion, and pride. Official figures put turnout around 50%, which is down for previous elections, but when you consider that there hasn't been an election in 9 years, and many of the citizens of Lebanon were disillusioned at the prospects for change, that's not a bad number. The election marked the first serious foray by civil society groups into the electoral sphere, with independent candidates running as part of a campaign known as Kaluna Watani, or We Are All the Nation. Ultimately, the movement won only one seat, electing well-known television personality Paula Yakuban. Victory for a second female candidate, Jomanu Haddad, had initially seemed likely, with supporters wildly celebrating early exit polls. However, results proved she had lost. However, many gathered in protest, insisting the election was rigged. Manchuk said Monday that the winning candidate was Anton Pano, a member of the Lebanese President Michael Anoun's party. Harari's losses underscored the way in which Lebanon's system has often been used for horse trading, with politicians and parties forming an alliance of convenience to stay in power. Despite pressure from traditional supporter Saudi Arabia, which appeared to force Harari's short-lived resignation last year. Remember, he had to resign when he was over in Saudi Arabia. And during that resignation, he cited discomfort at the rise of Hezbollah. He has done little to confront the Shiite militant group. Sunni voters have wanted a tougher approach to Hezbollah. The problem is that Harari could not deliver. His tactics to remain prime minister and maintain formal political power have eroded his political support. Now, why am I I don't report on U.S. elections. Why am I spending so much time on Lebanese? Well, quite frankly, there were 586 candidates, 86 women, running for 128 seats. It was a new system. We don't know the final outcome. However, many speculate it's unlikely to upset the balance of power because of the caste-based system. The leader of the Shiite Hezbollah called the result a very big parliamentary and moral victory for the choice of resistance. Now, candidates supported by the group or allied to it gained in major cities. Yes, a terrorist group has candidates on a ballot. This is something I find shocking. Now, a couple other things I want to cover. Israel versus Syria. Yes, I've put this one out on Twitter. Israel versus Syria. An Israeli minister has threatened the life of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad over his strategic alliance with Iran, which supports Damascus in a 7-year civil war against rebels and jihadis. Suspected Israeli airstrikes have destroyed Iranian positions, killed Iranian personnel operating in war-torn Syria, where Israel accused Tehran of building a network of hostile, mostly Shiite Muslims. Host Kitty, go back to guarding papers. Sorry, Host Kitty's playing Ruckus and Muckus. Let's see if we can continue this. Suspected Israeli airstrikes have destroyed Iranian positions, killed Iranian personnel operating in war-torn Syria, where Israel has accused Tehran of building a network of hostile operations, mostly Shiite Muslims, and threaten Israeli national security. Iranian officials warned they would retaliate against such attacks. Israeli Energy Minister and retaliate against such attacks. Israeli Energy Minister and Cabinet Member Yuval Stinetz said the consequences of allowing Iran and its allies to work in Syria would be fatal for Assad, and that if Syrian President Bashar al-Assad continues allowing the Iranians to operate out of Syria, it would be the end of the end of his regime. If Assad, and then he went on to clarify, if Assad allows Iran to turn Syria into a forward operating base against us to attack us from Syrian soil, he should know that will spell his end. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has maintained close relations with Iran, and of course opposes any relations with Israel. Everyone should understand that there are certain red lines for Israel. If anyone is interested in maintaining Assad's survival, they should tell him to prevent missile and drone attacks on Israel, according to Stenitz. He does not know of a concrete proposal to kill Bashar al-Assad. However, Israel is known for political assassinations, where no country dares tread. Now, this would not be the first time that Israel has gone to war over one country, crossing into another, and then attacking them. Israel initially invaded Lebanon in 1978 and 1982 in response to attacks by Palestinian militias attempting to establish an independent state on territory claimed by Israel. Israeli forces withdrew in 2000, but again invaded in response to Hezbollah border raids in 2006. They did pull out after a ceasefire a month later. Clashes among these two groups are not surprising and not new. But now that Hezbollah is on the board on the government in Lebanon, could it mean war? We'll have to wait and see. Supporters of Hezbollah have been known to drive along Lebanon's southern border with Israel, flashing party flags at the village of Adaish as the country votes in its first parliamentary election in 9 years. Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman said that Israel may strike with the Russian-made S-300 anti-aircraft defense systems in Syria if they're used against Israel. If someone fires on our planes, we'll destroy them, Lieberman said in an Israeli interview. What's important to us is that the weapons defense systems that the Russians transferred to Syria are not used against us. If they are used against us, we will act against them. Lieberman's comments come a day after senior Russian officials told Kommersant newspaper that Russia is expected to provide Bashar al-Assad regime with S-300 aircraft defense systems soon. Lieberman said the S-300 are already being operated on Syrian soil, though they're only being used by the Russians. However, if Russia gives them to Syria and they are used against Israel, we will destroy them. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that Russia had not yet decided whether it would deliver advanced S-300 missile systems to Syria, but it would not make a secret of the matter if it made such a decision. There's probably no secret about this, and it can all be announced when a decision is made. Now, all of you know where to find me, radio host Jesse, on Twitter. The Puerto Rico National Guard has released the victims of the WC-130 aircraft accident which occurred near Hilton Head Airport in Savannah, Georgia. The names of the 9 fallen airmen are Major Jose Roman Rosado, pilot, 18 years of service, from Manatí, Puerto Rico. He is survived by his wife and 2 sons. Major Carlos Perez Sorrera, navigator, 23 years of service, from Canovas, Puerto Rico. He is survived by his wife, 2 sons, and a daughter. First Lieutenant David Albandos, co-pilot, 16 years of service, from Puerto Rico, recently residing in Madison, Alabama. He is survived by his wife and daughter. Senior Master Sergeant Parvasini, mechanic, 21 years of service, from Canovas, Puerto Rico. He is survived by 2 daughters and a son. Master Sergeant Jean Offreed, 16 years of service, from Carolina, Puerto Rico. He is survived by his wife and 2 sons. Master Sergeant Mario Brana, flight engineer, 19 years of service, from Bayamon, Puerto Rico. He is survived by his mother and daughter. Master Sergeant Victor Colon, 22 years of service, from Santa Isabel, Puerto Rico. He is survived by his wife and 2 daughters. Master Sergeant Eric Serkuns, loadmaster, 31 years of service, from Rio Grande, Puerto Rico. He is survived by his wife, 2 stepdaughters, and son. Senior Airman Roberto Espada, 3 years of service from Salinas, Puerto Rico. He is survived by his grandmother.